from NBC Sports and one of the voices of the NHL on NBC and NBCSN and the family of networks, Eddie Olczyk. How are you, Eddie?
Hi, Rich. I'm doing well. Hope you're doing well. It's the same during these crazy times. So health and happiness to you and yours.
Well, I was going to ask you that question because I know you are somebody who would be at risk. Ed, what's going on with you?
No, feeling good. Yeah, it's hard to believe. I'm 2 years since my battle with stage 3 colon cancer, and officially got my yearly scan the other day, and it came back all clean and clear.
Wonderful.
So I'm very lucky, very blessed, and just trying to do the right things, for myself and my family, and abiding by the medical professionals. And but I'm feeling good, and some great news yesterday. Probably the best medicine that I've had in a long time, hearing the commissioner jump on there and give the format and the return to play. And I think the one thing too, Rich, I think the league, led by the commissioner, Mr. Bettman, and the deputy commissioner, Bill Daly, I think the league has done an unbelievable job here since the pause. Like, since the middle of March, they've been out there, they've been answering questions, they've given information when it was there, and they've gone underground when there was really nothing to say, and then to be able to get together with the board of governors and the owners, and then obviously the players and the return to play committee, to be able to come together and say, okay, look, if we can accomplish this, this is the way it's going to be. And look, you can poke holes at it, you can break it down, and some teams, Buffalo and New Jersey, for example, on the outside looking in, they had a couple of games in hand, and you could argue it until you're blue in the face. But look, I think that they deserve a lot. I think the leadership the commissioner showed was second to none during this whole thing. And look, we're probably 10 minutes into the first period through this whole process right now, and hopefully we'll get back to playing. But at least everybody has an idea. And let's get through the first couple of phases, and then we'll worry about dropping the puck when the time permits. And again, that will all be because of the safety and the aspect and the guidance of the medical professionals.
So I guess then let's get into the format here, right? Let's talk a little sports, Ed. Let's do it. Does this format, do you think, benefit one team over another, just based on at first blush, looking at it?
Well, I mean, I think when you break it down, you mentioned, Rich, the top 4 teams in each conference getting a bye, and then they'll play a little round robin to play the seedings there. The interesting thing is that you had teams that were on the outside looking in, right? When the pause happened, the teams that were sitting at 9, 10, 11, 12, all of a sudden they may be 8, 9 points out of a playoff spot, and here they are getting an opportunity to challenge for, in my opinion, the greatest trophy in all professional sports. So when you look at that from that aspect of it, it's an opportunity for teams that, maybe thought that, hey, they had to go on an unbelievable run before the pause and have a chance at getting into the playoffs. So, that to me is, when you look at the 5 versus 12, is going to be, I mean, it's wide open, Rich. Like, I don't think anything that anybody did prior to the pause really has no relevance in what's going to take place here, because this is absolutely uncharted territories. I mean, most of these guys will have been off the ice almost like an off season, if we've had any normalcy in our life, they'd be off the ice for maybe 3+ months. And then, now they're going to go, and they're probably going to have their informal skates. They can skate with their teammates up to 6 at their facilities when that opportunity presents itself in the next phase, and then eventually no earlier than the middle of July that they will have the formal team practicing. But I don't think I really don't. I don't think it favors anybody. I think you could sit there and say, you know what, if you like the longest shot on the board, and being a horse player, Rich, as you know I am, if you got that courage and gumption and think, wow, this team's got a goaltender, this guy's got a star player, why can't they go on a run? Because that's what you got to do. So for me, a lot of scenarios out there, the possibilities of how we were going to get this thing done, and I think that the league, and along with the players, again, don't forget, the players had a big say in this. They came to the best conclusion, and looking forward to see how this format plays out, especially once you get past, the first preliminary rounds, Rich, because you got this 5 versus 12, just like the NCAA.
Right.
The March Madness is once you get through that, are they going to have a bracket situation, or are they going to reseed and then go from the highest ranked team to the lowest and then have them play? That's all to be determined, as you mentioned a little bit earlier. So that's the exciting part, is how they're going to decide how this thing all plays out.
Well, I know I might sound like a Southern California Eddie Olczyk, but I'm also got a New Yorker in me too. Wouldn't it be interesting that if the Canadians finally break the McSorley stick curse under this format? They go from a 12 seed and going on a run.
They got the goalie that could do it, Rich. They got the goalie that can do it, Carey Price. There's no doubt. They've got some holes there. I don't think the holes have been plugged up since the pause. Montreal is going to have a tough time here, as they move forward in these and against that first series against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I was thinking too. And I know these seedings are based on division standings, not just points. Man, and again, the New Yorker me, I would have loved to see Rangers Islanders, right? That they play each other right then and there. Maybe they could play it right there in Rockefeller Center in the rink. Do the full-on synergy with NBC and just play it outdoors. I don't know if I don't think it's a regulation size rink that's right there in Rockefeller.
No, we just
Plaza.
go to 3-on-3. Why not? Just go to 3-on-3.
Well, isn't that the rules, right? That regular season overtime rules apply early on.
For the round for the top four seeds in each, but the other series that play in, so to speak, those are overtime. You go 3-4 overtimes. You play until you have a winner.
That's it. And then again, Eddie, I mean, I'm assuming with the players already coming off of quarantine, the playoff beards would be particularly great. I mean, like in terms of all-time playoff beards.
I've been told is that hair grows more in the summertime, so I'm assuming that.
Wow.
I know the Sharks are not in it, but Brent Burns and Joe Thornton could have beards down to their knees if they happen to be in the playoffs.
But yeah, they could be like ZZ Top, right? To go old school right there. 2 minutes for low bearding. That could be something like that. So I mean, this is genuinely exciting. That said, do you know what have you heard from players about concerns about returning to the sport and what might be going on back and forth on that front on the protocol?
Yeah. Talking to a lot of players throughout the league, and there obviously is that concern, and that's where you're gathering your information from the medical professionals, and how are we going to have a safe, healthy environment? And that's what the commissioner has said from day one, and he said that yesterday again, is when he addressed everybody of look at the safety and health of everybody involved is at the forefront of this, and how do you have a competitive balance there with it's a contact sport. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And, how do we keep our players safe and the officials as well? Let's not forget the officials that are going to be in the middle of this. So that's why, there's this great optimism. And look, I mean, we're all living in a most difficult time, and it's hard to turn on the television and just hear, I don't want to say the negativity, but certainly just, bringing everybody down with what's gone on. And it's hard not to be, just whether it's personally or professionally or, just what's going on in society. But when you have this hope here about, oh, wow, maybe, in our little world, we're going to get back to seeing hockey, but to have the format out there that is just awesome. But then again, the hurdles are from the players' aspect of it is, okay, so how are we going to do this? How are we going to keep everybody safe? What happens if somebody does get sick? How is that going to be affected? Who's going to be doing the testing? How is that going to be administered? Who's going to make the final decision? All of those things are still, obviously have been talked about, Rich, but those things have to be, worked out. A lot of talk, and I've heard it with Major League Baseball and also with the NBA is, how are families going to be implemented here? I mean, you can only put these guys, or any situation, you can only put them in a bubble, and be protected so much. I mean, there's going to be outside, there's going to be outside structure there at some point. I mean, whether you're going into hotels, are hotel workers. I mean, that's
right.
That's one of the questions as well. If you're going into a hotel or a resort, are all these hotel workers going to be staying in these hotels and not going home and then coming back and working and cleaning your room or feeding serving the food, the bus drivers, all that kind of stuff. So there's so many things that, that obviously still need to be worked on, but that's why they have the committee, and this is, like I said, you're just 10 minutes into the first period of this whole game here to hopefully get us back sooner than later, and hopefully we're back at the end of July or early August. And
then just to wrap things up with you, Eddie Olczyk, I mean, you want to talk about, boy, you hit I guess what would you say, an exacta? Or where you not only heard from hockey here, the folks at in New York City say that let's run the Belmont on June 20th. And so, I mean, that, you might have made a nice little exacta. I hope you boxed that. So you got,
always.
Okay.
Always.
So at any rate, what's your first blush thoughts on the race that's for the first time, the first leg of the Triple Crown?
Yeah.
And obviously they shortened the length of the race. One would, because horses are just like any other athlete that you've got to condition them. You can't just run them a mile and a half right out of the gate. So what do you think first blush here, Ed?
Well, I think it's being proactive. I think that, New York Racing Association and, obviously the Triple Crown looks at this and goes, okay, it's the first duel of the Triple Crown, and, we're going to shorten the race and do right by the animal and do right by the, the sport and the game, and we're going to run it a mile and an eighth instead of a mile and a half, and they're going to have a full field, I believe, of, 16 horses, and it's going to be unbelievable, and, but I just think it's the right thing. And I think what has happened now, Rich, is that what you're going to see that is you're going to have horses that are obviously maturing into their 3-year-old campaign, and some horses just aren't mature enough to be ready to run in their early 3-year-old campaign. So that's why it's so difficult to get the horses to the Kentucky Derby the first Saturday in May, where now it's going to be the first Saturday in September. So I'm fine with it. Look, it's going to hopefully it's only 1 year that we go to a mile and an eighth, but hey, the Belmont gets a chance to kick off the Triple Crown, and we'll see if somebody can pull off the feet. And if they happen to do it, then to me, I will not look at it any differently than I would a normal Triple Crown, because look at this is the hand that's been dealt, and you got to handle the adversity. And I think horse racing to this point has handled it extremely well, and I'm looking forward to being on our NBC horse racing team's coverage.
Yes.
I think I'm on the best team. We have the best leadership, and looking forward to being a part of the Belmont coverage on NBC starting on June the 20th.
Look at you, man. You're a team player right there, even though there is an I in Eddie, but not Olczyk. Hey, man, I'm glad to have you here, and I'm glad that we we just don't know the where and when. Obviously, two crucial question marks that need to be exclamation points, but it was still, like you said, great to hear. Here's the format. Here are the teams. Just seeing the logos, seeing team logos, just hearing the names of the teams. It was great. It was a lot of fun, Well,
I appreciate you having me, Rich. Thanks a lot.
You got it. You take care of yourself. That's Eddie Olczyk of NBC Sports and the NHL on NBC, and also, as he pointed out, Triple Crown Racing on NBC. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.